Hi guys, how's everyone doing today? Aj bala kem cho. Aj sab kaise ho. So today I'm discussing the topic of losses, okay? Or how to deal with losses specifically. So I've kind of discussed bits and pieces of this in other videos as losses is tied into a lot of our mental and spiritual work. But today I'm making just a video on just A&E losses in general and how to like deal with it right at the root cause, okay? So as you guys may have heard me say before, any problem in our life can be boiled down to our lower self. Okay, if you know the chakras, I mean by the lower three chakras. I made videos on this before. Now, the lower three chakras are the earth chakra, the water, and the fire chakras. Okay, so any problem, like I said, can be boiled down to these three, which represent physical things in your life, emotional, and mental things from more of like an ego standpoint. Okay, so any losses that you deal with in life that cause you pain are rooted in the fact that somehow you were over attached to something physically, emotionally, or mentally, that by this thing being removed in your life or you incurring this loss has exposed you to that over attachment to one of these three energies. And what's happening is, as that thing gets removed to your life, that attachment to that thing is causing pain, right? Because anytime we're attached to something and it gets removed, it causes pain. But in order to kind of deal with this ahead of time or deal with this after it happens, we would like to become aware of how exactly we are attached to that thing. And I'm telling you, you're attached to that thing in one of these three ways, okay? And I'm going to discuss three examples right now, okay? The first one is a job, the second one is a person, and the third one is you moving like to some other land, okay? All three of these involve you detaching from the energies of the physical, emotional, and the mental, okay? And I'll start off right now, okay? Let's say you lose your job, right? Okay, so physically, there's also different levels of how attached we are at each of these things. And I'm gonna describe this right now. Physically, yeah, okay, you lost a lot of money. You need to detach from whatever fears that are coming up from a physical standpoint in regards to your job, okay? You might be a little bit worried about you not making enough money at a future job. Okay, you not finding a job and you losing money, that's a physical fear. And emotional fear is, let's just say you were emotionally somehow invested in some point of your some part of your job. Okay, this could have been some people at your job. This could have been some project at your job that was giving you a lot of gratification every time you do it, right? Because the job is a big part of our daily routine and stuff like that. That's pulled away, and now emotionally you're not able to express yourself in certain ways that you were able to express yourself through this specific career. And mentally, okay, this can really burn the ego a lot, right? Because it's an ego blow, getting fired. Not only is it an ego blow getting fired, there's a big validation issue, like maybe I wasn't good enough. All these kind of thoughts come to the surface, and that is something you have to deal with mentally. Also, when people find out that that you got fired, let's just say in work or outside of work, that's also a thing you have to deal with mentally. You tend to view your prestige as going down because you weren't good enough. Things like this. You got to identify this kind of stuff. Now we can take this even a level further, right? So I just said physically money, but there's also another physical aspect that's involved in your career. Let's just say you were really attached, and a lot of us are attached to these kind of small things, but we just are not aware of them. You were really attached to going into work and coming back every day. So now that that thing is there, a huge part of your routine is gone physically, okay? You're not waking up at 6 a.m. every morning and doing the same routine. That thing is altered, and that's causing some disattachment and some confusion and some other emotions that are coming up that you need to deal with, and that's causing you some pain. And a lot of the times, like I said, these three are all tied, right? So the physical detachment is causing emotional distress, and that's causing mental distress, okay? But I want you to try to identify these three, isolate these three as much as possible, even though they're tied together, so that you can start hitting them one at a time slowly rather than trying to just overcome the whole thing as once. Because when you try to overcome the whole thing as once, you tend to suppress rather than accept. And I just made a video on suppressing versus accepting. Okay, this is why I make those other videos, so that everything kind of ties together. Now, so you got to look at not only the superficial things, but also the deeper roots to all these things, because a lot of times it's more than one aspect that's involved in this. Like, for example, physically, it's not just the money, but it's also the physical day-to-day routine. Okay, emotionally, it's not just the fulfillment you might get from actually doing the job, but it's also the emotional fulfillment that you get from having something to do in the first place. Okay, and from an ego standpoint, like I said, it's not just the ego blow of getting let go, but it's also the ego blow of everyone finding out that you're that person that got let go, even in work or outside of work. And it can get even much, much deeper than this, but you got to see these things. Okay, same thing with, let's just say, a person. I'll use a romantic relationship for right now. Let's just say physically, you obviously lost someone, right? This person you might have shared some kind of physical encounters with, and that is not something you're going to be getting to experience anymore. Emotionally, you were able to express yourself around this person that you obviously weren't able to express yourself around any other person. We have a very unique relationship or a bond with each individual person that we have in our life. So now that that person is gone, boom, that emotional attachment is going away. Mentally, also, it can be a huge blow, someone leaving you, right? So you need to deal with that and deal with all the mental fears and insecurities that come up when someone leaves you, okay? And like I said, it can get much, much, much deeper than this. Let's just say physically, you like to go out to eat only with a certain type of person. Let's just say this person, like you only really want to go out to eat if it's with somebody. Now that you don't have this person, that routine is now disrupted, okay? You got to accept that and deal with that, okay? Emotionally, let's just say I'll tie these two in together. Emotionally, let's just say you only really like to participate in certain activities like drinking and smoking only with someone, okay? And now that that person is gone, emotionally, you're not getting that emotional rush and fulfillment that you would get when you're doing certain activities with that person. Let's just say you like to go taking a walk at your park, but only with this person, and that made you very happy. Now that this person is not there, that happiness that was coming from that walk in the park with that person is no longer there. You got that? Also, mentally. Let's just say this person left you. Yeah, sure. The main thing is like, okay, dealing with that person leaving you. But the sub thing, the next level, I would say, in my opinion, is everyone's going to find out that this person left you, right? So that's a huge ego blow. But you're now calling that person that got dumped or left or whatever. That's also could bring up a lot of insecurities and things like that you also need to deal with. So I just want to make you aware. You can also apply this concept to other relationships outside of romantic ones, right? Let's just say you lost someone in your life, like a death or something. Same thing here. Mentally, the easiest one is emotionally, right? Because people, especially when it comes to non-romantic relations that we have, especially when it comes to family or things like that, it's more the emotional things that we get from this person, right? So you want to start off with the emotional thing. Like how are you able to express yourself around this person that you can't anywhere else? Also mentally, whether we realize it a lot, mentally, there's a huge thing where it's like, when we lose someone, and this is a very specific example, when we lose someone, people tend to feel bad for us. But in a very artificial way, like, oh my God, like, this person must be suffering so much. And yeah, you might be suffering a lot, but people treat you a little bit differently, and your ego doesn't really like that to an extent, right? It's like you're constantly coined as like the person who lost a parent or the person who lost a sibling. And that could be a very huge ego blow, because it's like, dude, just treat me like a normal person after a certain amount of time. That could be something. Like, people are treating you differently and the ego doesn't like that. That's one possibility. I'm just throwing out possibilities just to get you guys on the right track. Physically, let's just say, for example, you lost a grandparent and this person cooked you very good food, or you felt very comfortable like at their house or something like that. And now that they're gone, you don't feel that same level of comfort anymore, from a physical level or from an emotional level. But like I said, these things are all intertwined. This is also something that you need to be aware about, okay? Now, the last example I'll give is, let's just say you move, right? Physically, you're in a completely different space, okay? There's different restaurants, there's different things that you do, there's different gyms, whatever. There's all this kind of different stuff that you were physically attached to so much wherever you were living before that you did not realize. And when you move or when you're about to move, you will feel it. Okay. Emotionally, there's certain people probably that you interacted with. There's certain emotions that you get eating those certain foods at certain places or visiting. Let's just say you were by the beach and now you move away from the beach. There's certain emotions that you will no longer get because you do not live at the beach anymore. Okay. Hope that made sense. Mentally, we mentally attach to this place that we live. Let's just say me, right? I live in South Florida. So a lot of people attach from kind of being from, South Florida, being from Miami, being from Broward County, okay, whatever. But now that they move, let's just say they move to like, I don't know, Texas, you don't have that same attachment to, MIA or something like that, right? Or let's just say you're from New York and then you move to uh, Philadelphia, okay? You don't like a lot of people from New York. I notice. I'm not saying this is for everybody in general, but or just a lot of people from the Northeast. The city they're from, they tend to attach and overly identify a lot from the city they're from. But let's just say you move from that city, you're gonna lose that attachment to that city, that ego pride that I am from this place. Okay, you're gonna lose that, and that's gonna be something you feel. So overall, with losses, like I said, you're probably watching this video because you feel some pain when you have that loss, right? And you feel some pain because of some attachment that you had with that thing that you just lost. And that pain is coming from an attachment from something physically, something emotionally, or something mentally that you lost. And it's important to slowly start to identify the root causes for those attachments within these certain three energies and slowly start to detach from them and accept that you no longer have these things and accept that they're all tied together and that, like, for example, let's just say you lose someone and then physically you lose all the physical things related to that person. Then you also lose the mental and emotional things. Sometimes when you recognize the physical, you might better recognize more the emotional things that you're relying on for that person. And then also, because of that, start to identify more the mental things that you relied on for that person. So you want to see, you as you become aware of some stuff, you'll see other stuff because you're aware and detached from that stuff. And you'll see how these are all tied together and how much deeper attachments you do have, etc., related to all three of these things in an isolated or combined fashion. And that's okay. That's great. Don't get overwhelmed. And if you do get overwhelmed, that's okay. Just accept it, breathe, and understand that this is a slow process and slowly start to detach from these things that you are attached from and related to the things that you lost. And also, when you lose this thing, you could recognize your attachments in regards to other things that you might have lost in the past or are losing now or might lose in the future, or you have a fear of losing in the future, and that's okay. That's actually a great thing. But a lot of us can be overwhelmed and could tend to think that we are having all this anxiety and all this kind of stuff. That's not necessarily true. We could just become spiritually and mentally aware of these things, and that's great because that gives us an opportunity to detach and go from there. We don't necessarily need to get overwhelmed and try to, like I said, awareness is something that when it comes, it's a gift. You don't try to shove it down or pretend it's not there or something like that. A lot of us don't like awareness because we just like to live our life on autopilot. But when we do start to become aware and identify these things, and more things start becoming to expose themselves at us as kind of like a snowball effect, I'll try to be grateful and continue your detachment journey, as in the long run, it's going to make you the most happiest. And even in the short run, it's going to break you out of the illusion that you're living in, because a lot of us don't like breaking out of the illusion. A lot of us don't like becoming aware, but you just have to understand that if you didn't become aware, you were just living on autopilot and being in suffering just in a not aware way. But because you are aware, you're consciously being forced to do something about it, which is also something that not a lot of us like, but that's something that in the long run, it's very, very beneficial for us spiritually. And so just don't have this negative mindset of, oh, why is this awareness coming up and all this kind of stuff. Because when the awareness does come up, you're forced to do something about it, and you're not basically pretending like doing any material nonsense is going to quick fix that problem. Because as we know, those material things to try to fix those problems are not most likely going to fix them, right? They're just going to dive us further, deeper down into the illusion that we've been so desperately attached to. But like I said, when detach from all these things, and if more and more awareness starts coming up, view it as a great thing. Just continue to detach and just understand that you're getting a lot healthier mentally and spiritually. Okay. So I think that's it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, you can feel free to let me know. And until next time, talk to you guys later. Thank you very much for watching.